Grow, Sell, and Retire is a podcast for aspirational entrepreneurs and inspirational business owners who want to work less, earn more, and even more importantly, have an awesome time while doing it. Your host, B.D. Dalton, author of True Gravity, is here to give you the systems, processes, and actions for you to create the wealth that you've always dreamt about. Get your pencil, paper, and brain ready for secrets and top tips from his 25 years of experience in helping people build wealth. Here's your host, B.D. Dalton.
Hey everybody, B.D. Dalton here, talking to you about Grow, Sell, and Retire, success tips for the lazy overachiever. Today, I'm very, very excited because this is our 11th episode. And we're going into my interview series or podcast interview series, and with one of my favorite people in the entire world. His name's Steve Moore. He's an author. He wrote a book called Ineffective Habits of Financial Advisors and the Disciplines to Break Them. He is an NFL or ex-NFL football coach. He's also worked at Microsoft. He's worked with Apple. He's worked with so many different people to make them more effective. He changed my business. He changed my life and made sure that I could get and do the things I want to do. He's encouraged me to go out and work with people and make this world a better place. It's kind of silly, but he's coached, enough people, 1,200 financial advisors. He's worked with elite athletes in the NFL and all over the place to make sure that their lives are better. And he's going to be giving us success tips to make sure that we can wow our clients so that we can be even better than we are today. Stop having rainmakers in the business and quite a few other things. So hopefully you're going to enjoy this as much as I did when I interviewed him and all the times I've been through his class. So please join me in listening to this podcast interview with Steve Moore.
Coach, can you remember when we first met?
Yes, I can.
And to kind of lead people through it and how I think I was a deer in the headlights, just like most financial advisors are when they come into a course where they tell us we're going to have less clients.
Well, what happens is this notion that the industry has about that you just throw a broad net and bring in anybody that you can is just a faulty assumption of how to grow the business. Well, I should correct myself a little bit. It's actually the truth, but the data is way off. The data is that for every 243 small clients that I bring in, one of them becomes a high net worth client.
Wow.
So it just defies logic to work with 243 small clients for the next 15 years because one of them is going to turn into a larger client. It just defies logic, and it just encumbers the business growth, and people are slammed with service issues, and it's just not the way to grow the business. The way to grow the business is to focus more on the quality of the people that you bring in than the quantity.
Yeah, and so overall, is it the thing that we're actually looking at? And you've done this over probably how many? I know you've worked with about 1,200 different financial advisors and probably more than that now. But and so the data set that you have is fairly extensive, isn't it, when it comes to the service industry in general?
It's not to the service industry, but to the wealth manager. We have good data. We have good data, but we also have good anecdotal information about how things are working for people.
And so when you're looking at that, you're saying that we should have fewer clients, and that's going to scare the heck out of some people because, they over here, the phrase in the UK is it's money for old rope, which just means, it's sitting there, they're just paying you anyways. But when you run us through the course, you actually tell us what the actual detriments are to actually having those clients. So could you just tell us a couple of those detriments or things that could drag us down and drag the business down?
Well, the people that have money have complex needs. Mm-hmm. They have a need for wealth management, not just pure investment advice, but they have a number of things that are going on in their life, and they have a need for more comprehensive wealth management advice. It takes time. Legitimately takes time. And so the people that take that time from the advisor turn out not to be the larger clients, but just the 100 or so for those smaller clients that they have in their book that are concerned about this or concerned about that. And they need to get something to an accountant, or it becomes a compliance issue, or you name it. All the dealing with the small clients prevents an advisor from being able to breathe deep and then think deeply about what they could do for one of their larger clients. And if they can get to a spot where they can begin to deliver a legitimate wealth management offering to their larger clients, that's where you get the call-in leads, that you get legitimate client referrals. And in fact, the data is that for every client that you legitimately have engaged, they'll produce 2.3 referrals to you over time. So let's just say in a book of business that you had 15 or 20 clients that are legitimate high net worth that you're beginning to deliver wealth management to. I take like 2.3 times that number, and that's the number of leads that will be coming into me if I've done it right. If I haven't done it right, and I've not yet truly engaged the client, then I just continue to wonder where the business is going to come from, and I have this tendency to, once again, to sign up anybody who can fog a mirror in the hope that somebody's going to become a decent client.
And it's funny because now that I've kind of gone through and lived this and taken my business apart and put it back together, it's not just working in wealth management anymore. It's working at everything, because if you think of the resources that people go through when they're looking at bringing in clients, whether it's an internet business or whether it's website design, whatever else it is, all the time it takes to maybe bring in a bit of cash flow. You have to go out and market, you have to spend the money, you have to hire resources or people, expand, go into different markets, and that'll cost money and time. And people just don't understand that drain on their resources and their brain and focus takes them out of their business. And so
the last piece you're talking about, this focus is, and being able to think deeply about things is the differentiator. This, being able to just skip along the surface and it's not good enough for people that are trying to move forward.
And that's the old adage of working outside your business, or working on your business versus in your business. And people get so tied up in working in their business that they don't step back and work on it because they're so busy, and they don't sit back and take that breathing time and planning time. And that's a big thing, and I think that's one of the biggest things that I learned from you is just that if I actually sat back and studied and did the right things to bring in the right people, that they would come in easier. So it might take a little while to go through the bubble, but once you're through the bubble, the world's easier. It's more fun too. And people don't know this about our business at Taurus, but because of what we did with you, this last year, my business partner had cancer, and he was able to be out of the business for 9 months without the business missing a beat. So we had no problems in the business with his clients being upset because we had applied all the stuff you talked about. And that's really kind of leading me into my next question is, why is it so hard for a lot of businesses, and especially wealth management businesses, to get rid of the rainmaker, or to kill that, give the notion of it has to be a rainmaker business?
Yeah. Well, certainly at one point, this whole industry started with that there's a few really special people that have the ability to go out in the world and have the ambiance and can articulate and say incantations, and they can make it rain money. And these are very special people, and because they're very special people, they're the ones who got all the money, and staff were very second-class citizens, and everything was organized for that one person to go do their thing. There's tons of problems with it. First of all, you can't deliver holistic wealth management that way. There's not enough skill set in one person to do it. It requires a team to do it. But the other piece is because it was viewed as that person was the guy, they made all the money, and the staff feels left behind. And so they withhold their abilities, their competencies. In fact, they're in a spot where they don't grow anymore. And so you end up with that Rainmaker in time having to do not only sell clients, but also service them. And at a certain point, they're done with their capacity. They can't take on anymore, and they can't leverage staff members because staff members are either withholding or haven't had a chance to grow. And so they top out. And so the idea of wealth management is that it requires a team to get things done. And you build a team, and you build the competencies of team members to build the capacity of an organization to legitimately deliver exciting, comprehensive services to your clients.
That's awesome, and the funny thing is it's been and it's once I drank the Kool-Aid or bought into it, and it was very hard to do, and then get the partners to buy into it. Now the staff's bought into it. We can, and this is my big thing, is I go on holiday for 2 weeks and I never get a phone call. Don't have a disturbing email, that says, Mr. Smith is looking for you, or Mrs. Smith wants to know where her paychecks are, or it just makes your life easier. But it's really bringing it back to, and this is where I think you really made us sit back and look at how we were dealing with the clients. And you call it wow. And so what does a wow client feel like, and how do we get them to feel like this?
Well, just a little quick background on that piece.
Okay.
I've been working with wealth managers, financial advisors for about 25 years. So 25 years ago, I had the good fortune of having a friend ask me to help him set up his RIA, Registered Investment Advisor, here in Seattle. And he was working for a bank at the time, and he didn't really know what to do. And I didn't know what advisors did either. And so, but by that time I'd been doing a lot of work up at Microsoft and knew what good planning was and what good deep thinking was. And so I said, well, Rich, if you're willing to, trust the old guy and, go down this track of what the big boys are doing, I think we could put a plan together. And so we worked through it, and we thought through target markets and mission, and we thought through service models, and thought through staffing models and staff development models. And so we thought through, like a big business would think it through. And this company went from 0 assets under management to over $1 billion in 5 years. And so that got the attention of Russell Investment Group, which then started to introduce me to some of their other clients. And so, that's how all of that started. And when I was working with Tidy Asset Strategies, I was reading a book called Wow. And what it was about is you take each of the touch points that are connected with a client, and you attempt to insert just a little piece of wow into each one of those touch points. So the cumulative effect is a very big wow. So if you might imagine a review where you might want to call the client and set the appointment, and a little handwritten note that we're looking forward to seeing the two of you at such and such a time and such a place. Well, that card, they open up, and it's a nice card stock, and it feels like a nice invitation to a social gathering, and the couple says, wow. 2 weeks before the meeting, they receive a package from you that has a cover letter, and the cover letter, the opening paragraph, once again, is the meeting reminder, but the second paragraph points them to their financial vision document, which is a very clear articulation of what the couple would like to accomplish that will require planning, money, and time. And then it also points them to their client engagement roadmap, which is what we're going to be doing together over the next 2 years. And they open this up, and once again, it's on just an upgrade of paper so that they can feel the difference. And they say, wow. They show up at the office for their review, and the meet and greeter says, welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith, would you like your cup of Earl Grey tea? Mr. Smith, would you like your black cup of coffee? hold it right here, and I'll get your drinks and make sure that Steve is ready for you, or Bart is ready for you. And there's a bit of wow. They walk into the meeting room, you've got a flat screen presentation with selected pictures that you know that are important to the couple. In front of, on one of their desk pads, with 3 pieces of paper, the financial vision document, the roadmap, and their goals-based reporting shows them where they are in their journey. Wow. You take them through the review, and it's actually delivered in English, and not trying to talk about Portable Alpha or try to wow somebody with your
staying away from
industry.
jargon. Staying away from jargon.
Completely away from jargon, actually speak English, and they walk out of there having actually for the first time understood what you're trying to do for them. And it's wow. And even when they get back home, the follow-up email is already in their inbox. And it's a wow. So the idea of wow is to take each of the touch points that is connected with a client engagement piece and insert a little piece of wow into each of those steps, so that the cumulative effect of it is a very big wow.
That's awesome. And I think that the funny thing is, because not all the listeners on the podcast will be financial advisors, but everything there that Steve just ran through are things that you need to think about when you're looking at your overall your business, how you're dealing with your clients, and just what's making those people think, okay, well, I'm not going to leave here because these people understand me. They know what I'm doing. They know where I'm going. And I think that's the biggest thing that turns us from salespeople into trusted advisors, is the knowing not only what the device is or the product is that you're using with them, but how it completely fits into their life. And that the piece that you said in there that was, this is how we're going to deal with each other for the next 2 years. You're showing long-term engagement. So it doesn't matter if you're selling a website or if you're a financial review or an accountant, it's really working through all of those pieces. And that next question that I was running into, you've touched on a lot of it, was those touch points. And why do you think more touch points are better? And why do you think that keeps clients going?
Well, so I worked yesterday with an advisor up in Vancouver that is in the top 1% of the advisors in Canada. And just as we are getting to know each other, he's just packaging up his business to internally sell it to a person who's been working for him for 18 years. And I asked him, if there's one thing that you'd say that was responsible for your success, what was it? And he said, I insisted on frequent touch points with my clients. And so I do quarterly reviews. Some people will tell me, my clients don't really want quarterly reviews. And I'll say back to the advisor, well, after spending some time with you, I can understand that. But what people want quarterly reviews, they just don't want that math exercise that they get once a quarter. And even beyond the quarterly review, they want a meaningful touch that even goes beyond that. So if there's an engagement that they need to do with an accountant or an estate planning attorney or you name it, they can they derive huge value from having a conversation with somebody who knows the entire landscape of what they're dealing with and what that engagement with the accountant or the estate planning attorney or U.S. tax expert, whatever it might be, what's going on there. And so those touch points become really, really important.
No, it's great, and multiple times and fast and frequent, but with sentiment is what we've done. I mean, we've taken on what you've said and added some things on there from some of the other people we've met to, Jeff Belcora and some of the others, to make sure that the stuff that we're talking to clients about is what matters to them and how it really shows that we've understood them using your ideas and how it all comes in there. And it's not rocket science, but it's people don't do it enough. They don't see it in their business. They think it's a waste or a cost or a drain on their time.
Well, it almost goes back, Art, to what we started with. Sometimes when you have so many clients that you don't have the ability to even think that way, to go that direction. You're just trying to scramble to keep your head above water. So it's just prohibitive of being able to think that way.
Yeah, and that's really good. It comes down to that planning bit and knowing where you're going to go, because then you can afford yourself the time to step away from it and do that. And it's hard at the beginning, like you said, it's 243 to get one high net worth client. But and when people don't know what they're looking for when they first start off in a financial advice business or any other services business or any other business that's selling to the public, it's hard to know exactly what they look like until you've figured out what you're good at. And so bring that back to a different mindset, which is where I kind of want to go with the next thing is you've worked at Microsoft, you've worked with professional athletes, and you've worked in the financial advice, most recently, the majority of your time. What do you find is the major differentiator there between kind of those three groups of clients that you've worked with, the Microsoft, the sporting, and the financial advice?
Well, in one regard, it's identical. And here's where I would argue that it's identical. Let's just use a metaphor with my coaching background.
Yes.
So I've coached in high school, I coached in university, and I coached in the National Football League for 12 years. And so I had this insight as to, where would you like to coach? And there's no question about it. You like to be in the National Football League. You like professional athletes. And here's why. They're more talented than other people. Mm-hmm. Right? People understand that kind of straightforward. But number two, they're more motivated than other people. People think that they just got there because of their gifted athletes. No, they got there because they were motivated. They developed their athleticism. Certainly they were athletic, but they developed their athleticism to that next level up because they're motivated. And the piece that people just have never heard, and it's hard for them to contemplate because they see a professional athlete walk out into the stadium with their pro strut and the ambiance that they bring to the crowd.
Yes.
And the part that they don't understand is these are the most coachable people in the world. You show a professional athlete a technique or a skill that will make them better, they'll ask you to film it. They'll ask you to sit down and look at the film after practice. They'll want to work on it again. They're incredibly coachable. And I would argue that is ran through all of my experiences at the high levels, from Microsoft to Apple to pro athletes to advisors. The best of the best. They are talented, but they're more motivated and they're more coachable than others.
I think that's awesome. If people haven't, if you're listening to this and you haven't written that down and you haven't thought about whether you're talented and hopefully you're motivated because you're listening to a podcast that's taken up, 20, 30 minutes of your time. But the big thing is, how coachable are you? Do you listen? Do you sit back and take notes, or do you think that you've made it? And I think once you think you've made it, you're done. You're not going to excel anywhere else. And it's a hard thing. So that's been awesome. So I guess the questions I like to ask people after we've moved on. So unless you had something else you wanted to add on any of those points from before, because I think there's a lot of things that people will have taken a lot of notes on. So is there anything else on that part that you want to talk about, Steve?
Bart, maybe later on after somebody sent in a question or two, I'd be glad to, do another short conversation with you, and okay. So let's do it that way.
That's cool. So here's one for you. What's your favorite tech right now? What are you using, phone-wise or computer-wise or application-wise, that is making your life a little bit better?
I am really into my presentations being able to pop, and okay. So the basic way I deliver in these days with advisors is in a year-long program, and and the first meeting is 2 days, and then we go to work for a quarter, and we get back the next quarter for a full day, and we do the same thing throughout the remainder of the year. So we have 5 days of meetings. Well, you can't put an advisor in a meeting room for 5 days and just do what they've normally experienced in meetings. So I work really hard to make sure that the slides really pop and that there's the right music and there's the right video clip. And so to do that, I use Apple products, and, I insert the right pieces here and there. And so my most fun with technology right now is just that. It's just, I can sit down with my computer and go grab the right music clips and the right things off of YouTube and the right clip the right piece out of a movie to make a point.
Yeah.
And then have exercises around it. So that's kind of the most fun that I have with technology today.
Cool. And how about, what are you reading? I know you're a big avid reader. What are you reading currently?
So the reading all just comes from my old sense of inadequacy. I have dyslexia, so when you have dyslexia, I just turned 70. So back, when I was in grade school, I just thought I was dumb, and so it's part of my coping mechanism. I'm still an avid reader, and right now I'm rereading Dr. Bandura's book. Al Bandura is the most cited living psychologist in the world, on self-efficacy, and I've read it, but this time I'm reading it, and I'm legitimately highlighting and thinking deeply about everything that I'm highlighting. And then I'm actually converting that highlighted piece into layman's terms, as opposed to scientific terms, so that I can get it. So it's taken me 3 months actually to go through about 25% of the book, and
wow.
So that's what I'm currently reading.
And did you get to meet Dr. Bandura? Because I know that one of our friends knew.
I have. Well, I brought Tim along with me down to Dr. Bandura's home.
I thought you were in that picture. I thought you were in that picture.
A couple of months ago. I may not be in the picture. I may have taken the picture. I think I took the picture. But anyway, we had a collection of people that I brought down to Dr. Bandura's home. I have the good fortune of being able to talk with him on a pretty regular basis, and he's been kind of my guru for probably 25 years.
Amazing. So Dr. Bandura, and I'll put some notes in the speaker notes so that you guys can all track that down yourself and try to find some of Dr. Bandura's work.
It's fantastic.
It's awesome. And then
let me just pause there just for a moment.
Go ahead.
Slow this down just for a minute. I teach and help people build their businesses, but and that's actually an excuse to do what's even more important for them than building their business, and that is to help them improve their self-efficacy, their belief in their ability to cause or to make things happen. I have this, it's not so hidden agenda, but I have a more important agenda than helping somebody actually build a great business. And that is that I give them the techniques and skills to become more than what they are today.
Awesome.
And so Dr. Bandura's curriculum is the core of that.
That's awesome. No, it's really good, and I think that's one of those big things that it's an ulterior motive, but it's one of those awesome ulterior motives. It's not a getting rich thing. It's enriching the world that makes it even better. So when everybody wants to kind of track you down, I know you do a lot of stuff mainly for financial advisors, but I think the stuff you do, if people just change financial advisor to software company or to whatever, and they just went through your book or any of your training or some of your videos that you've got out online, so where do they track you down?
Well, I have a really primitive website that people can find me at moresolutions.net. MORE Solutions.net. And it's fairly primitive, but people could find their way to me by way of that website.
That's awesome. And once again, those will be in the notes so you can track that down. And there's videos there, and there's a couple of other things. And then how about just a couple of final thoughts for our listeners?
Well, being on this call and you listening to this call, it already puts you in rarefied air. Not everybody is interested in improving. And so there's constant, never-ending improvement, and this quest to become more than what you are today is so fundamental to who we are, and you should just be proud of who you are for having participated, because it demonstrates this need for constant, never-ending improvement, and you're doing it, so you should be proud.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for spending your time with me on my call today, and thanks for being one of the people that's really changed my life and changed my business. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on Grow, Sell, and Retire. For more information, tools, or to book one of our team members to work with your team, business, or to speak at your event or conference, visit bartdaltonconsulting.com or email contact@bartdaltonconsulting.com. Buy the book True Gravity on Amazon. If you want to work for the rest of your life, that is your business. If you don't, that is ours.